Power of the Pen with LaWanna Bradford, expanding the impact and influence of authors from around the world. If you want to change the world, pick up your pen and write, said Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Books are uniquely portable magic. Power of the Pen spotlights authors from around the world. Listen as authors share messages that educate, motivate, inspire, and entertain. Join us each Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern on e360tv.com.
I want to again welcome all of you who are joining us on E360 TV and other viewing platforms, and to our listening audience on iHeartRadio as well as Spotify, to our special edition of Power of the Pen, where we are talking about the benefits of Power of the Pen. Get ready to win, and I want to show you a little commercial about being featured on Power of the Pen.
You know, this is one thing that I know I've learned from LaWanna, because we learn from each other too as a partners, is that you need to make sure that when you're getting on a platform that is giving you the visibility that's needed and the reach. And with Power of the Pen, you know, and I know we'll go a little bit into that just a little later, but it's not just getting on the platform and just talking about your book. I mean, anybody can do that. You can go on Facebook Lives and do that. But it's a strategic way of doing it, and being on a show like this, really focusing on you and what you're doing with your book matters a lot when you're getting that visibility.
I love that. And if you're interested in learning more about this platform, about me, about Barbara, and how you might be able to be featured on Power of the Pen, we would love to talk to you. And it may be a book that you didn't write. I want to say this. It may be a book that has inspired you, and you want to feature that book and you'd like to talk about it. We do that too. We've had opportunities as that. Larcenia White was on sharing a book about all things lovely. And we're excited because we're going to show how you can take a book that has inspired you to create a movement of your own, to create training of your own, to inspire other people using things that are already there, right? So you become the messenger of the message. Ooh. So there's, again, this platform is so rich and there's so many opportunities. So again, if you're interested, as Barbara said, being on the show, send an email of interest to LaWanna@BradfordGroupMTG.com. It's scrolling below, and simply put Power of the Pen in the subject line. Someone from the team will reach out to you. We'll send you a little brief form so you can tell us a little bit about you, your book, or a book that's inspired you. And we'll have a talk, make sure that it fits for both you, for our viewing audience, and then we'll get you on the show. So we're really excited to hear from you again. Talk about leverage the power of co-branding. The Bradford Group, owned by me, the Diamond Factor, owned by Barbara. In partnership, we're the Bradford Group Diamond Factor Collaborative. It's co-branding. We're leveraging our names, our resources, our audiences to further our reach, to further our impact, to drive more income so that we can create the change that we have envisioned separately and independently in the world. And do you know you can co-brand on platforms? You can co-brand on other people's platforms. Power of the Pen. Barbara, give me a name of one of your books.
One of my books. I just went a blank. Well, what, 31 Ways? You want to do that one?
Okay. Power of the Pen and 31 Ways of Influence by Barbara Beckley. Now you're thinking, well, how is that a co-brand? Well, it's co-branded because now Barbara is on the show, being spotlighted as a guest, but being co-branded by her book. And her book now becomes the sponsor of the event. So now everything that goes out, all promotional material about the upcoming episode, now says Power of the Pen, featuring 31 Ways of Influence, sponsored by Barbara Beckley and the Diamond Factor / 31 Ways of Influence. So you're on the show, but now you're co-branded with a show that, keep in mind, this is a television show. So no matter where you're watching, you may be watching on any of our streaming platforms, social media platforms. Our home is E360 TV. You may be listening to us on iHeart, Spotify. But think about that. Think about all those little avenues I just mentioned. But now not only are you a guest, you've been co-branded in the US, Canada, UK, and a few other countries. That's powerful if you understand the art of leverage, how to leverage, and how to co-brand.
That is powerful, because now you're not only having your own brand being lifted up, okay, the visibility, we're talking about this visibility, you co-branding with a brand that's already been established, that's already having those viewers, as LaWanna said, and that's helping you in marketing because they're putting out and promoting you. How would you pass that up? I just thought about it. I'm like, that's cool. That's good. Yeah.
Right. And individuals don't use that enough. And I think sometimes we get in our mindset, this is my little domain, my little message. Yes, it's your message. No one's going to take it away from you. But when you understand the art and the power of leveraging and co-branding, I'm telling you, you can go from obscure to sensational, and just exponentially. It's just amazing, because I know and I'll let Barbara, you share with me. I remember my first collaborative book. It was a nightmare. It really was. Not to slight the collaborator, but it was just not a pleasant experience. And sometimes we have those, right? And so wrote the book, and then it was just not knowing, well, what do I do next? There was, just didn't have the guidance. And that's okay, because sometimes you don't know what you're supposed to ask. You don't know what you don't know. But now that I know certain things before I get into those partnerships, because a collaboration, I see it as a partnership, I know what questions to ask. But going back to the story, so I had this nightmare experience, and I'm like, now what do I do? And Barbara had shared, she had a total opposite experience. This wonderful, she shared everything she got. I'm like, really? I didn't get that. But because she was sharing with me, I'm like, okay, I may not have received it on this side, I'm now learning from someone else's experience. And I'm learning these tips and strategies to use to help me to rebrand myself. Like I said, it was not a good experience. So I need to rebrand myself. I wanted to separate myself from the book. Again, it was a bestseller, so celebrate the best-selling component of it, but separate myself in moving where I wanted to go, because the book didn't go in the direction we thought it was going to go. Just being transparent, sometimes those things happen. That's why having conversations is key. But following some of the guidance that had been given to Barbara, then I got this other knock on the door from this amazing collaborator, Dr. Duranche, international phenomenon. She's currently in Kenya. Because of that experience with her, a book that I was in later, written for a U.S. audience, is now being handed out and read by women in Kenya. That's powerful. But if I had just stayed where I was, I would have been frozen and probably thought, I'm not going to do this again. This just was not good. But because I met someone, I shared my story about sometimes stories are not good. You share your experience and someone else will come along and say, well, why don't you try A, B, and C? And that opened the door for something bigger, greater, more powerful than I could have ever imagined. And I'm not just talking about the book, and I'm not saying just to minimize it. The book in Kenya is huge, but the partnership that came almost 3 years later from that collaboration with Dr. Duranche, where Dr. Duranche and I hosted our first international conference this year. And that was amazing. We had women from the US, UK, Australia, India, Canada, and actually Kenya was in the house, and in a couple of the islands. And that was powerful. But again, from that exposure, someone seeing me, someone hearing, because I took my message and I was using it in a different way, and it opened up the doors, it opened up awareness. And that's one of the things that this show allows you to do through tapping into some of the training platforms that we have on here. Barbara?
Like LaWanna said, now think about it. How about if LaWanna didn't even, like maybe me and her didn't talk, or she decided, I had that bad experience, never again, not going to do it. So you shutting that door. If she would have did that, everything that happened with her having that door open or just a little bit open, you see what happened. The visibility just went sky high with her, with myself. I was brought on the ride. Duranche, she brought us on the ride. We were all on this ride together. And this is how we exploded and came together in other ways to create, like you said, that summit. Now, just to add to that, we're talking about the visibility. This also adds to your credibility. That's why I tell people it's so important, because it does add, because when you're adding, you have your credibility yourself with the book. I get that. But then when you co-brand with others, then it goes just like the visibility is going increasing, your credibility is increasing too, because now you have others that understand. I mean, that's in your same, where you're at, and you're all growing together, and you're giving credibility to each other, which is giving credit. This is putting out there to everybody else that's looking at your book and looking what you're doing.
I've been searching for a gold mine, been digging for a long time, looking for a diamond of the rarest kind. Then one day I found a perfect treasure, a worth of impossible measure. I started to pray, then I heard you say you would forever be mine. I struck love, now that I have found you, I struck love.
So with this platform, I think the power of the pen is a great resource for you as an author, for you as whether you're a sole author or in a collaborative book, and you want to again expand your reach, be a dominant presence on the platform, not having competing interests with another author. It all depends on again what you want to do, and we customize it to that, because the goal is to spotlight you, to make it a story of interest for our audience. And then this is the big thing. You actually get an opportunity when you're dominating the platform, and I can tell you TV is not going to give you this. A main TV station is at the end of the show, at the end of that, almost at the end of the 45 minutes, it's turned over to you, where you basically have the platform independent of the host for 3 to 5 minutes, speaking directly to the audience, telling them what you want to know, how they can reach you, how they can get your book, where they can get your book. That's pretty powerful. And then it's a closeout with the host echoing, if you want this book, and you'll see it on the ticker, so it's another promotion avenue. You can get this book on Amazon.com, name of the book. You can reach the author. Here's the author, contact information. So again, think about the different avenues that are out there. Power of the Pen is one, but others where you have the opportunity to dominate the platform.
Yeah.
And if they don't offer it to you, know how to ask and negotiate that. And that's something else that Barbara and I train on.
Is with a book launch, some people sometime in their mind think, okay, I just finished my book, now let me go launch it, and then I can't do any more launches, or that's it, that's how you do it, that's the process. And I tell people, you can always, I don't care if you had the book for 6 months, a year, even if you haven't wrote it yet, you're still writing it, you can still have that book launch. I just had two clients that I had for social media, but they wrote a book too. And they told me they wrote one book, it was 2 years ago. Well, they said they want to do a real launch of it because it's been a while. And they added some things in the book. They kind of updated it and stuff. I told them about this. I said, well, we're going to be having virtual book launches. They're like, I never thought about that. I can always do a book launch. I said, yes. So I just want to remind people that just doesn't have to be just when you finish the book or about to finish the book, but you can do a book launch at any time you want to get the book out there.
Yes. And I want to make a send out an ask or a call to action to collaborators that are out there. If you have past books on the horizon, and you're looking for innovative and creative ways to spotlight this collaboration, to spotlight your authors, reach out to me, reach out to Barbara. Let's have a conversation. Let's see if it makes sense. Can we create that win-win? And then let's help you move forward in 2023. Again, this is again the power of collaborating, the power of co-branding. So we're very interested in that. Also, if you're an individual who does publishing, help authors get published. If you're a person who's a graphic artist, to help people design covers for their books, anything that you may do to help authors, we'd love to feature you, because again, it's about not just the book, but about providing resources. So we would love to have you come on, to interview you, to find out what it is that you do to drive the viewing audience over to your side of the equation. Because again, there are things that Barbara and I don't do and don't want to do, but we are greater because of the partnerships that we have and the resources that we have that we're able to offer to others and to benefit just the whole journey in writing. Right, Barbara?
Yes, definitely. Because now, not only co-branding, just being on the Power of the Pen, now that's one thing, being on the show, but now you're talking about a live launch that we're really doing. We're kind of like partnering you as like, we're kind of your campaign marketing team. And we're coming in and we're basically exploding it even more for you.
Right, because it becomes a feature show on the network. That's why it's under another channel called Live Central. That's a special channel for those, like you think about if you're watching TV and feature programming, right? It's like, okay, this week's show will be interrupted because of this feature programming. Well, this is feature programming. It will not be at 2:00 on Sundays with Power of the Pen. The time will be conducive to what works for you. That's what we will get, different time slots, and then we'll negotiate with the network to find out the availability, just lock that time slot in, that date, and then work with you on the whole lineup, what it's going to look like. And again, the level of complexity. Some people want to go all out and have this whole multimedia platform. Others want it very simple, where it's, I just want my authors to come on and you interview them, and that's that. It's totally, the design is up to you. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that we talk about in the discovery session. And typically, just from a timeline standpoint, we ask for 4 to 6 weeks, because depending on what it is, we may need to make sure that we're able to get you in the lineup and that your space locked in. But as far as the planning, and again, depending on how elaborate it is, 6 weeks is really a good sweet spot. So think about that as you're thinking forward. Oh, I would love to have a book launch whenever that is, then back up to that and reach out to us so we can at least get that conversation going and that date locked in. Because live central is not under my control. It's the network's control. So again, I don't have the same latitude that I have on power of the pen. And that's why we need to make sure that it's negotiated and you are plugged in and your time and slot are secured. So I'm real excited. Yay, yay. We encourage you all to be safe and remember the power of the pen. Your voice matters. And that in life and in business, when opportunity intersects, when your vision intersects with opportunity, remember that success is inevitable. Until next week, we'll see you soon. Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.